Welcome to Career Coffee Chat Live. I'm your host, Erin Urban. I'm a certified career strategist and executive coach. And what I do is I help driven, experienced professionals remove career roadblocks so you can achieve more income, impact, and influence. And speaking of impact and income, my book, Elevate Your Career for More Impact and Income, is coming out on January 27th. I am very excited to bring this knowledge to the world about how you can, number one, relieve yourself of some career myths that probably are sabotaging your hard efforts. And a lot of these are things we think we should be doing, and they don't help you when it comes to your success and your overall career. So I'd love to have you join the launch party. I have more about that in the event description. And I'm also very excited to talk about how to thrive and return to work with our special guest today, Anna McKay. Now, Anna is an expert at helping not only parents, but anyone who's taken a career pause, return to work and thrive, as she puts it, thrive like a mother. And you don't have to be a mother to thrive like one. So I love that. So what she does is it specializes in helping professionals overcome a career pause and land their dream jobs. Did you know there's actually a value in a career pause? I'm anxious to learn more about that, and I'm sure you are too. Now, if you're just tuning in and you've never seen me before and you don't know anything about the Career Coffee Chat live show and podcast, which is all available on all the major channels, you'll learn more about me at CoachEUrban.com. And I'd love to see you more frequently right here on all the major channels, as well as LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So today we're going to learn from Anna about how to express a career pause to a potential employer and how to communicate your value and shift focus away from said pause. And most importantly, develop confidence and clarity about your next steps. Now, if you're just tuning in, please say hi, say your name, and say where you're from. I'd love to welcome you to the show. And Anna she is a founder and owner of Parents Pivot, return to work resource for stay-at-home parents and other individuals with career pauses for whatever reason that career pause happened. She provides support through workshops, one-on-one group coaching, in addition to returnship placement services in Houston, Texas. And I'd love to welcome Anna McKay to the show. Anna, it's so great to see you. I'm so happy to have you on.
So good to see you too, Erin. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to be here with you.
I am thrilled about this conversation because there are so many people right now who are wanting to return to good paid work, not just any old job. Okay. I think a lot of us during this career pause that we've had, and the pandemic pause, as I call it, we've had an opportunity to really sit back and reevaluate what is important to us, what aligns with us, our vision, values, mission, and our life trajectory overall. And so we're coming back into this maybe with a different focus and a different feeling than perhaps we would have under quote unquote normal circumstances. I'm good to see you, Cornelia, tuning in from Houston, Texas, or Spring, Texas. Melissa, always great to see you tuning in from Houston, Texas as well. Cecilia, wonderful to see you. She's tuning in from Cyprus. Sandy, good to see you also from Cyprus. So we've got some great people on board. And as we're talking today with Anna, please ask your questions, anything you have. Anna is a wonderful resource for people who want to return to work and thrive like a mother. I love it. I thrive like a mother. And you don't have to be a mother to thrive like one, by the way. Good to see you.
You don't. I do work with fathers too. There are several fathers who I work with who have taken a career pause to stay home with their kids, and I've helped them return as well. So you're right. You don't have to be. It's not just for moms.
That's right. It's not just for moms anymore. It's so funny. One evening, number of years ago, I was out riding my bike, and a gentleman with us was like, he had a new father, and he decided that to be stay-at-home dad. He was like, y'all, it's a lot of work. You need to go home and kiss your wife, and you need to be nice to her. I was like, sorry.
I know it's a lot. It's a lot of work to be a stay-at-home parent, and you learn all sorts of skills. You're stretched to do all sorts of things that you might not have normally done, and I might not have done before parenting. And so, yeah, I definitely agree that there's a lot of work and a lot of value in being a stay-at-home parent that you might not necessarily think about, or that you might not necessarily think translates to the workplace sometimes too.
All right, and I'm anxious to learn more about that now. Anna, you start a Parents Pivot for a really wonderful mission. Can you share with us a little bit about that mission and your passion about that?
Yes. So I started Parents Pivot after I was an expat twice in the Philippines and in Beijing, and then moved to Houston about 7 years ago. And so throughout that time, I saw so many, mostly women, who had moved overseas with their partners and taken a career pause, or when I came to Houston, people who had taken a career pause to have kids, and then their kids were entering kindergarten, and they had a real hard time figuring out what they wanted to do, or if they had any skills that would be transferable to the workplace, or
Mhm.
how to go about a job search after not having been in the job market for 10, 20 years sometimes. So I started it with seeing a real need and feeling a connection to these people, because I had traveled a lot. I was an expat twice, and so moved a lot. I moved 3 times and had 2 kids and had all of these transitions. And I know that those transitions can be hard. And then when you have all of those transitions in your background, then communicating your story to an employer can be difficult sometimes. And so I saw that challenge. I remember talking to my husband at some point early on in the founding of Parents Pivot, just being like, I have to do this. I have to do this. There's so many talented women and men out there who've stayed home to caregive, and employers just do not recognize the value that they have. So I need to get out there and really help these candidates communicate that value and help employers understand and realize the value of these career pause returners.
I'm so glad you decided to take this mission on. And just to share with all of you tuning in this morning, Anna is wonderful at it. I'll just agree with you. She is really awesome. And she's got a workshop coming up, actually, Thrive Like a Mother, Return to Work program. And if you are curious about that, you can learn more about that in the event description. There's a link there. You can get more information about that. And Anna, just really quick, can you give people an overview of what that might feel like? What's the expectation there?
Sure. Yeah. So I created Thrive a couple of years ago, and we've had several different cohorts of people go through. And I created it based on the struggles that returners are facing. So various different struggles in that lack of focus that we talked about, that lack of understanding what the job search market is like today. What do I need to do? How do I do a resume? How do I do LinkedIn? How do I prep for an interview, all that kind of stuff, but also to address challenges that are unique to returners. And how do I talk about this career pause? How do I address this? How do I show employers that, I have a lot to offer,
Right.
and that I have a lot to bring even with this career pause? And how does that career pause add value? So we address all of those things, and it's in a supportive community of other people who are returning to paid work just like you.
That's
Which I found,
wonderful.
no, it's like, I love a group. I love a group. I
Yeah.
love to be part of a group, and I love a group there's so much power in a group. So
There's so much more. There's so much great energy in a group, and just knowing that you're not alone. It's not just you. And even though logically you probably know, you're not alone. It's just so much better to have that group support. So if any of you tuning in today, I want to share with me, have you taken a career pause, and is it the pandemic pause, or is it for other reasons? And what are you looking to do? Are you looking to return to work, find a part-time job, what that is? So if you don't mind popping in the comments and the chats, we'd love to hear from you and learn a little bit more about your journey and how we can serve you better. So Anna, what's the biggest challenge? I know there's a lot. What's the biggest challenge you feel like returners have? Because I feel like American businesses particularly, and sometimes in the UK as well, depending on the different countries handle it different ways. Some countries see people taking a pause as a caregiver for whatever that might look like as not a bad thing. It's like, okay, good, you should do this. Here's a bunch of money.
Go raise the tiny humans that will populate the world in the future.
Right, go raise more of us. We're happy. Here, do this. Here's a lot of money, and there you go. Like I think Denmark, like gives you I don't know, a bazillion days off, and dads too, and like all this stuff. In America, we're like,
I know. Wait a minute. We're not sure we want a future of people. Can we have a future without people?
Can you do everything at once? Lazy person.
No.
A little bit of an overwork culture, perhaps. So, what does that do for your returners? What does that challenge their returners face?
Yeah. So there is that challenge. So, I mean, as a resume writer, that employers and some of the ATS systems screen people out if they don't have any work experience on their resume in the past 3 years. And so, yes. So right off the bat, like returners are, there's bias against returners in the hiring process and maybe even with the hiring team. So not having anything in that experience section is one of the top challenges for returners. But I like to have my returners think about and reflect on the experiences that they do have while they are staying at home, and to understand how those experiences bring value to a potential employer. And so I've worked with so many people who don't realize the impact that they've had on their community. I worked with somebody who had a career pause for 20 years, but she had held all these leadership positions and had done a lot of volunteering. And when we added up all of the fundraising that she had done for various different organizations over this time period, she had raised more than $3 million for her community. I know, which is amazing.
That's huge. Can we say the lady doesn't know how to sit still?
And
motivated. I mean, wow, good for her.
I know. And so there are nuggets like that for everybody. I've talked to other returners who, really were personable and loved, engaging with everybody. Within their kids' schools, they were always the one welcoming in the new families. They were always the one welcoming, making sure those people who weren't connected felt connected and doing all of that. And this person turned out to be a recruiter. She went back to work as a recruiter, as somebody who gets to know other people, gets to know their stories, really understand. I mean, so it's just you have these transferable skills, and no matter what you've been doing during your career pause, I know there's a lot of value that you've developed. And so I love it.
Right. And that's the big thing I think people struggle with. They feel like, for whatever reason, the cultural norms we've established and a lot of the false beliefs that we have also absorbed into our psyche, we feel like, okay, a pause is a quote unquote bad thing, and I'm not doing anything about you. That's not necessarily true. There's also one reason why I encourage people, if you're considering a career pause, if you want to start a family, or you need to become a caregiver for any reason, then I encourage you to stay active in your community, volunteer as you can. Again, don't try to stretch yourself to the breaking point, but be active and be engaged, because you are also developing more value. And I would also say, like one gentleman, I was developing his resume, he took a pause to take care of an elderly parent. All right.
Yeah.
It happens. And I said, okay, using project management. I said, okay, how much of your project management skills helped you do that? I hadn't thought of it that way. I was like, yes. So look at it as if this was your job, and then give me some contribution statements based on that. And he came back with a lot of relevant contributions, what he did, how he's able to apply his project management skills, coordination, and also some financial understanding, knowledge, help, support to do this work. And you're right, Anna, having that gap is a problem. And it's a problem for applicant tracking systems.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I encourage people to put, if you have significant volunteer experience, you've got to put that in the experience section up at the top. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but
Yes, I do.
you do. You've got to get that experience into the AATS system. And I've worked with so many people. When you take a look at the hours that you've been volunteering, it's often significant enough to be a part-time job. And so take a look at that, put that in your experience section right at the top, make it relevant to the work that you want to do. And, and I think that you're right. You mentioned, Erin, there's this culture in America that we expect everybody to just kind of like do everything, not have kids and not take care of them somehow.
It's a little crazy. It really is.
It is. I do think the pandemic has kind of shone a light on the fact that we all have families and that we've got things to do. We've got people to take care of. We've got, pets to take care of too.
Right. And they love by the way, for all of you tuning in, and you may disagree or agree with me, whenever you're on a Zoom session or any sort of video conferencing, your dog and or cat or iguana or whatever will decide that it's time to get between you and the camera.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I know. It's like toddlers and dogs and cats all have that like magnet to, oh, you need to be live on Zoom in front of a lot of people.
Let me just get in there. But it's honestly a really good thing. So some positives, if we can look at it that way, from the experience that we've had over the last year, is number one, the career pause. That has become not so much of a negative connotation.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Finally. Yeah. Oh my God. Now it is, you actually get the, what if you actually ask people, oh, why are you in transition? Well, duh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was this pandemic, and so
everything. Let's see, we have a couple people tuning in here. Yeah. Jesse, hi, good to see you. He says I enjoyed my snow pictures. We had snow in Fayetteville this weekend.
Oh, we were really, really hoping for snow in Houston, but we didn't get it.
No, you don't want that. Nobody knows how to drive around here in snow.
That's true. That's true.
They don't know what they're doing. Melissa says she also wants to return to work full time. She's taking a pandemic pause. Sandy, same thing, pandemic pause. And they're all looking to return to work full time. And the good news is that stigma is disappearing. In fact, I will reiterate, the hashtag return to work feature on LinkedIn is actually a good thing to have. You want that because it elevates your searches and for recruiters on LinkedIn Recruiter. Now, if you're, have a job and you're actively seeking, you want to, check the available to recruiters only, so it doesn't show to your company, that sort of thing. But if you're actively in transition, use it. By all means, use it, because it's not the green ring of death, people. It is a good thing.
Yes, I agree. I definitely agree. It's like, people, unless you're currently working in, like you said, you don't want your employers to know. I think it's not it's not shameful at all. It's, people really understand that we've been through a pandemic and that, everything, the world around us is changing. Businesses are having to pivot and change. And that means a changing workforce. And so having a career pause right now during a pandemic, I feel like is especially something that employers do understand. And now, so a longer career pause, I feel like does take some more communication, but I often find people, they were like, oh, I was going to come back to work and then the pandemic hit. So there's finding the value in the pause that I talked about a little bit earlier. But right now, if you're looking to return to work and you haven't been working in this crazy overworked culture that we have, another value that I really think that people who are not currently working bring is a refreshed mindset, a refreshed way of working. If you so many people these days, if you're still working, you're feeling really getting to that point of burnout. And if you've had a career pause, you don't have that to deal with. And so I'd say that's one way that you're better off than somebody who's continuously working, looking to change
Right.
job.
And there's a lot of people who are focusing on certifications,
Yeah.
obtaining more certifications, more education, that sort of thing. So we were already in a very certification focused society, and coming out of the pandemic, we will be even more so. I predict that companies will kind of take that and go, okay, great. We want more of this too. So just know that for good or otherwise, we are focusing more and more on certifications. So even
Mhm.
small things, LinkedIn knowledge base courses and
Mhm.
anything like that helps you
Right.
tremendously.
Yeah, and I think that there are lots of free resources available out there for courses and skills that you can brush up to show people that you've got some new knowledge, you've acquired some new knowledge. I do kind of caution my clients.
Dorothy says, yeah, definitely focus on adding another certification. Go, Dorothy.
Yeah, yeah, but do take a look at what you have already. Like I want my clients to take a look at the skills that they have already and be, choosy about what certifications they go after. Go after those specific ones that will help them get the job they want, and not the ones that where they already have those skills that are developed. And if you've had a career pause, you may feel like, I don't know if I have any skills, but you do. You do, and you've got lots. And let's talk about the skills that you have first. And so you don't need to go get certifications in those. Go get it in something that's really going to add and help you stand out. So yeah.
Mhm. And would you agree, Anna, that focusing your certifications, any sort of additional knowledge base that you gain, is really useful if you know your career target, like what you want to focus on? And do you help potential returners look at, okay, what's my focus going to be? Like I could do this, or I could do that. Do you help them discover what that is?
I do. I help people. That's definitely a common challenge that people face is if you've been out of paid work for a number of years, then you may not know if your skills are still relevant. You may not know, you may not want to go back and do what you did before your pause, even if you've had this pause, you've been laid off in the pandemic, or you've decided to take a pause because it's the right thing for you and your family and your community at this moment. If you take a look at where you are, it's a perfect, like you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. If you take this time to really reflect and figure out what it is that you want to do, it might not be what you were doing when you left at the beginning of this pandemic. It might not be what you were doing when you left your career 5, 10, 20 years ago. What we want to do when we graduate from college or we start our first job may be totally different from what we want to do today. And I think, that's another value in having a pause. It's that you really get to reflect and connect to what it is that you want to do and go after that with enthusiasm and passion.
Exactly. You nailed it right there, Anna, because when you are passionate, truly invested and interested in something, and you know it leverages skills and it's in your strength zone, you can show up so much more powerfully and truly shine in that space.
Yeah.
I mean, interviews come much more easily. It's much more easily to connect to people and have that quote unquote elevator pitch if you want to use that as appropriate. Anything like that is so much more natural for you
Yes.
because you're excited about it. And when you're excited, people just feel it. They can feel
Yeah.
it from you. And that's a big deal. Much better than, well, I guess I've been doing this for this long. I'll keep
Right.
doing it.
Yeah.
Nah, nobody wants to. It's hard to show up if that's your thought.
It is. It is. It's really hard. And the world has changed so much. I mean, I know there are careers that are out there today that were not out there when I graduated. And it's just, there's so much to explore, which can be overwhelming for some people. But, I help people focus in. We figure out your strengths, your interests, your experiences, your skills, your values, your motivations. We look at all of that and help you focus in, narrow your options, get you out of analysis paralysis, and help you move forward. So
Yeah, that's a big one too. And for those of you tuning in, share with us, what is, as a returner, what is your biggest roadblock that you feel you have to focus on, because we'd love to help you overcome that roadblock today live on the show. And Anna, I know mindset, right?
Yep.
Mindset is a big thing. And oh, here we go. Christy White says, I've been feeling lost since my layoff at the end of September. My industry is not doing well, and I just don't know what I could pivot to. So, Christy, maybe the Thrive Like a Mother Return to Work program is just in your corner, but I encourage you to consider, Christy, what is that intersection of your strengths, your interests, and your expertise? Make a list of those things you're known for as a go-to person for. Maybe it's something you've done in the past. Because oftentimes what I find is we don't want to just throw all that away, right? We have all this experience. We don't want to just go, throw it out, start all over, because that's time consuming and can be costly and can cost us salary decrease. And we don't necessarily want that. So in order to pivot, let's understand, okay, what foundation do I have to work with right now? Right? Would you agree, Anna? What are your thoughts?
Sure. I definitely would agree. I think that taking a look at those pieces and doing like a Venn diagram and seeing how they all combine together is definitely something we do. That's actually one of the exercises in the Thrive workshop. And I know you said you've been feeling lost, Christy. I totally get that. I totally understand. I have talked with so many people who are at that point and just feel like, I just feel like it's really overwhelming and feel like it's just an isolating experience and it's hard to find. And that's another reason why I founded Thrive, is to bring people together who are going through this. And, it's oftentimes that if you're feeling one way, other people in the group are feeling the same way. And you can talk about it and bring up your challenges and we can address it. And, you can feel not so alone, but you also get strategies for moving forward. And and it's just that community support that is really key sometimes, to help you move forward, along with all the resources and the worksheets and the
tactical side of it. Exactly. I'm a big tactical person.
You're a technical person?
I'm all processes and like, oh, okay, you got a problem. We got a list. Here you go. Do this.
Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. And you need those. You need processes. And we've got processes in Thrive too. And we've got the dialogue and community. And
that's so much. That's so important. I mean, you can't set that aside, because it's really important to know that someone has your back. Someone's in your corner, right?
So
it's really important.
Your network too. Because networking is one of the most important ways to be able to find your next job. So
one of them, I will say though, that networking is changing. We're seeing an evolution pre-pandemic already because of more HR controlled hiring processes, more automation, that sort of thing. So the impacts of networking, particularly for the immediate job seeker, I need to find a job right now. Know that networking is a long-term investment, right? The worst thing, and we all been there. I've done it too. You get busy, you're at work, you're busy, and then you don't really invest in your network. You don't reach out to people, and you don't have those coffee chats. You don't send those emails, and you need to do that, particularly with your strategic network who is in your career trajectory, because ideally, and I'm sure you'll agree, Anna, we want people to reach out to us for opportunities before we need them.
Exactly.
I want to go back to mindset though, because I know that's a big part of it, and I know that's something you talk about and you address. Because while we have the tactical side of it, we have the processes and the support group and all that and the networking, there's a part of it that's internal. We need to focus on. And what would you say for those returners? How can you start to identify some of those mental roadblocks that we have and overcome them?
Yeah. Well, I'd say listen to the questions that you're challenging yourself with, the questions that pop into your head. What are those? I know some common ones that I've heard are like, well, I have a pause. How am I going to show that I'm as qualified as somebody who's been continuously working? I have a pause. How am I going to demonstrate that my skills are current and I can do this job? People are employers are looking for the 3 C's, right? Cultural fit, competence, and what's the other one?
Contributions. We'll throw that one out there. Contributions. There you go.
Yeah. So cultural fit, do you work within this organization? Do we see you getting along with everybody? Competence, can you do the job? Commitment, that's it, commitment. So competence, can you do the job? Do you have the skills? And commitment, are you willing to do the work? Are you interested in doing the work? And I think that's another challenge that returners face is, employers might think, oh, you've taken this time to stay home. Are you committed to returning? So I think it's really important for returners to get in touch with their own sense of commitment and I came up with an acronym actually to describe the value that returners bring, and it's depth. So I see returners have depth, and D stands for driven. And so I know a lot of the returners that I work with are really driven. They've done a lot of volunteer work. If they take on a task, they want to make sure it gets done and that it gets done properly. And who doesn't want a person like that on your team? And so I think I love helping my returners flip their mindset and listening to those challenge questions that you're asking and say, why would anybody want to hire me over somebody with continuous work experience? So instead of asking the question like that, why don't you ask the question, well, why wouldn't somebody want to hire me?
Right. Ask the question differently.
Yeah, ask the question differently, and ask the question like, how, you've got value. Help your employer understand the value that you bring. And so, yeah, it's shifting your mindset to ask yourself different questions and to really think through, how this is a benefit, how this pause is a benefit to your employer. And I think there's so many reasons. So, yeah.
Yeah, and how's a benefit to you as well? And you don't always have to share all the details, but when we come at it from a more empowered mindset, the rest flows much easier, because whenever we are in the mental state of lack or deficit, then things do not come from our heart center very easily, right?
Yeah.
It also constricts our neural networks, because our stress response elevates, our cortisol level elevates, and which is great if you want to fight off saber-toothed tigers, however, not so good if you want to articulate yourself in a meaningful way. So with that being said, having that more centered, balanced, and positive approach is so much more powerful, because you're setting yourself up mentally for the right type of response, and you're creating the right type of future for yourself. I know that sounds weird, but it's very true, and it's been proven in neuroscience also well. It's not just all woo-woo stuff. When we have the right mentality, we're firing and wiring the right neural networks.
Yes, it's so true. So my intention for the year is positivity in the face of uncertainty. And so focusing on, okay, I know there's a lot of challenges, there's a lot of unknowns. What can I do? What can I do to move forward? And so, yeah, that's definitely, that's something that I've learned and been working on, as many people probably have during this pandemic, but something I'm going to continue to take into 2021. So, yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's letting go of needing to know all the answers for the future.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I don't, and I need to be comfortable with that and just do the best I can with what I have and be okay with that. I've always struggled a little bit, I think, with not having a defined outcome that I know I can expect. Maybe I experienced disappointment as a child. I don't think so, but I don't believe I did, but who knows? So, I just...
we could go. That's a whole nother conversation.
A whole other conversation. But most importantly, to anybody tuning in, again, share with us, what roadblocks are you experiencing? What's your biggest concern as a returner? What is your biggest worry that's kind of on your mind, maybe keeping you up at night, or that first thing in the morning, oh, did I do whatever? I get that. Oh, here's my notepad by my bed. I'm like,
Love it. Love
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to, Christy's comment, part of her comment was that her industry is not doing very well. And so she's trying to figure out like how she might pivot. And so thinking through some of those transferable skills, I know, being in Houston, obviously the energy industry, and I'm not sure what she's related to, but the energy industry is really going through a huge transition right now. And you've probably talked with lots of people in the energy industry who are going through that transition. And so, thinking through what your transferable skills are and how to communicate those to an employer would be good.
Yeah, absolutely. I encourage everybody to make a list, exhaustive list, like one of those lists that you have to ask people about. You have to call former colleagues and go, hey, what were some things I was good at? And those kinds of lists, and then understand. And it's also good, by the way, to get in touch with former colleagues because you never know, something might come out of that conversation. You never know. So always reach out to those individuals. And if anybody has any other questions before we wrap up the show, please do pop them in the comments. And if you're watching the replay later, I would love to answer those comments. I know Anna would love to answer any questions that you have. Please do check out her Thrive Like a Mother Return to Work program. You can get more information about that in the event comments and description. So let's see, we have Christy here says, I've been a seismic processor for 20 years in oil and gas. Yes, I feel you. So oil and gas is suffering. A few notes about oil and gas. They are having to change how they do business. So you can expect a lot more automation, even in positions that didn't have it before, or maybe a passing glance with automation. Expect more of that and more digitalization. Also a lot more outsourcing. A gig economy is back. Would you agree, Anna?
Yes, for sure. And I think the gig economy has some great pointers, great points for returners. You can dip your toe in, you can get experience, you can get projects and learn and on the job and learn kind of in that environment. So in many ways, I do like the gig economy for getting back into the workforce. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing. The good news is there's more remote work opportunities. Now, that's not always good news for everybody, particularly if you're a people person and you want to go into the office, and that's not good news. And it also allows those individuals who, for whatever reason, they do still have, kids at home or elderly people or other people they're taking care of, they're still a caregiver, gives an opportunity to show up, be present, and have a job and also do what they need to do. Although, Anna, before we wrap up, I'd love to touch on this topic with you. We've noticed that there has been a large portion of attrition over the pandemic has been working mothers having to deal with stay-at-home kids and schooling stay-at-home kids, homeschooling them and trying to work, which is, I don't know how you can do that and work full-time. It's just what the heck. So what are your thoughts, Anna, about those individuals who've had to self-attrit and are facing that? Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think first of all is to acknowledge that you were experiencing, if you were working and managing kids. And so there's the schooling, there's homeschooling, there's, if your kids are in school, then there's the uncertainty around, well, what is it like from week to week? I've heard, all sorts of different schedules. There's like Monday, Wednesday, and then half every other Friday or half Wednesdays. And it's like, it's so inconsistent, and you never know whether your kid's going to get a cold and then you have to take them out of school because they have COVID symptoms, even though they might just have a cold. So there's a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot to deal with. And some families have had to make that choice. And it doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like that's just what we have to do to survive in this moment. So I think to acknowledge that you were trying to survive in this world, and to not and to not beat yourself up and say, oh, I couldn't hack it. I couldn't do that. Why couldn't I do that? Like, no, you couldn't. It's kind of impossible.
Yeah.
And in the unrealistic expectations that we have, and we need to be able to, if we can take a pause, and that's what's right for our family, we need
Right.
to be able to do that for a certain point. And so to acknowledge that it's not about you, it's about this pandemic. It's about these uncertain and crazy times that we've never experienced before, which everybody keeps saying. But it's true. It's true. This is so it's not about you. So, and then it's just really connecting in and thinking through, maintaining those networks. Don't let those people that you are working with, stay connected to them, and get your resume updated. Even if you've been working continuously for, up through the pandemic, it's likely you haven't looked for a job in a couple of years, and get your resume updated now, where you are reflecting on all that you've accomplished. So, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's see, this is Catherine. Catherine says the most important thing to remember is that you are not the only one going through this, and we all just have to be a little flexible and agile right now.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Catherine. It's a very important to remember that you're not alone.
You're not alone.
And there's support networks out there for you. This live show I know is also a part of that too. I'm here to, and Anna's here. I have, great guests. I'm very fortunate and blessed to have a great guest like Anna on the show. And we're here to help you. We're here to help you thrive, be successful, shine in your space, stand out, and land a great job and grow in that career. So that's what we want for you. And if you have any other questions, Anna, sorry, go ahead.
If anybody has any questions, I'd love to answer those. And I would love for the Thrive program starts February 3rd, and it's really comprehensive. It's got all those processes, and it's got the support of other people who are walking in your shoes, who are going through that return to work process with you. And so it is, I say it builds confidence and in a supportive community, and it helps you find clarity around what you want to do and navigate through this job search process too. So if anybody's interested in learning more about the program, I'm always happy to talk to people. So just reach out to me on LinkedIn or check out Parents Pivot website or Instagram and all that, Facebook.
Everywhere. We're everywhere.
Everywhere.
www.parentspivot.com. You can find Anna there, and she'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Dewey shared, I also paused my career during pandemic from oil and gas world. I realized my health is more important than my job. Good for you. Good for you putting yourself first. And it's interesting, you mentioned that, Dewey, because right before we went live, Anna and I were talking about so many people who do have a job are working themselves to death, just crazy hours. And, that guilt, I have a job, it's survivor's guilt. I have a job, therefore, fear sets in, I need to work all these crazy hours. Would you agree, Anna?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people are really burned out, and on top of that, there's survivor's guilt of I've just got to keep going because everybody's. If you're in oil and gas, especially, you're seeing your colleagues, go away, and you're left with this smaller team expected to do the same thing. So there's a lot of burnout, a lot of overwhelm, and it's just impossible to keep going. So companies definitely, I work with working parents to try to manage through this process too, and companies I think are realizing that they need to retain their employees, or they're going to be out. They're going to be out of all their employees. So there's a benefit to the company to make sure that you stay mentally healthy and that you don't burn out. So there's reasons for employers to take notice, and I think that a lot of them are, and so I think that and that's a good thing, and there needs to be more done to support people through this time too. So.
And you're absolutely right, Anna. The challenge I'm seeing, and particularly as someone who my background is continuous improvement and culture changes, and every downturn, it's like we get a little bit leaner and a little bit leaner and a little bit leaner, and now we're having individuals trying to do 4 people's jobs, and it's not sustainable.
Right.
And what I was talking to someone else in the careers industry, and they were saying, okay, once the economy truly starts churning again, you can expect, for those of you who have pushed for those companies who have pushed your employees to the brink, that they will leave.
Mm-hmm.
So you will see not only people who are returners who would get back into paid work, you will also see people who have been putting up with whatever it is, leaving. Yeah. So there's a massive shift.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
All at last downturn, when we started to tick back up, I saw the same thing happen. Just know that it will be even more so.
Yeah.
So, and Dewey shared with us, she says, keep being happy without a job. Think positive. Keep trying to find new opportunities. Great advice, Dewey. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Well, Anna, is there anything else you'd like to share with our wonderful people who are viewing and tuning in to this show, whether you're here live right now or you're watching the replay later or the podcast later on? Is there anything, words of wisdom, tips, tricks, golden nuggets you would like to
I think, really connect into that value. I know you can do this. I know that you can make this return and successfully return to an industry or a job that you want and that is right for you. And it's right for you because of who you are, your strengths, your skills, what you want to do, your values, connecting into all of that to help you return into meaningful work. And so, I'm here to support you, and I'd love to support you if you're on that journey. Consider Thrive. I also work with people one-on-one, but and just reach out and let's connect and see what we can do to help you make that successful return to meaningful paid work. Take care.
Wonderful. Anna, thank you so much. I really appreciate having you on the Career Coffee Chat show. I always feel so blessed to have such wonderful guests like yourself. And it's great to see your smile. Anna has the best smile, doesn't she? She really does. She has like the best smile in the whole world. She just lights up. It's great. Aww. So thank you so much for your golden nuggets and helping people out and returning to work and thriving. So do check her out at parentspivot.com. And until next time, I'd like to remind you that this show is available on all the major podcasts, Spotify, Apple, you name it, even Amazon. Who knew? It's everywhere. We're everywhere. So glad to see all of you tuning into the show today. So thrilled to have you. If you do have any questions or comments, feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them and get back to you. And until next time, all of you, have a great day. Ta-ta.
Thank you.